King Tutankhamun Neb kheperu reigned from 1361 to 1352. In the final years of his life, Akhenaten ruled alongside the husband of his eldest daughter, Merit-Aten, also known as Smenkhare, though their relationship is still unknown. Nevertheless, it is known from a hieratic text found in the Peri tomb, number 139, dated from that year, that one of the priests and scribes of the sacred offerings to the god Amun in the temple of Smenkhare in Thebes raises his prayers to the god Amun, indicating that Smenkhare returned to Thebes in the third year of his reign following the death of Akhenaten. It appears that Smenkhare assumed all authority and died a year following Akhenaten's death. Following him was 8-year-old King Tutankhaten, who became the heir to the Egyptian throne. His level of proximity to the royal family is unknown yet. It is plausible that he is King Smenkhare's brother and that he attained the throne through his marriage to Ankhesenpaten, Akhenaten's third daughter, a name that would imply that she lives for the god Aten. He inherited the throne of Egypt. He received assistance from the god's father in running the state's affairs. Tutankhaten was forced to convert to the worship of the god Amun 2 years after taking the throne in Egypt. In addition, he was made to adopt the name Tutankhamun, which means the living image of Amun, instead of Tutankhaten, which meant the living image of Aten. Additionally, he gave his wife the new name Ankhesenamun. That is to say, she lives for the god Amun, and it is possible that he traveled from Amarna to Thebes. Everything that was done to appease the priests of Amun, who were so overcome with victory that they started erasing every evidence of Akhenaten's rule they could reach. As I previously stated, Tutankhamun was driven to appease the priests and their gods, and as stated on a stela discovered within the Karnak complex, he was forced to restore the gods' temple ruins, even doubling their gold and silver assets and increasing the priestly staff in charge of them. Their pay is deducted from the Lord of the Two Lands' wealth in exchange for her services. Tutankhamun commanded that the Opet festivals, which commemorate the celebration the ancient Egyptians celebrated once a year when the deity Amun re-left in his procession to visit his harem in the Luxor temple, be recorded on the walls of the 14 columns hall. Research on Tutankhamun's mummy indicates that he passed away in his 18th year of life, meaning that he ruled for 10 complete years, indicating that he died when he was extremely young. His whole tomb, untouched by tomb robbers, was found on November 4, 1922, and its wealth, which showed the lavishness and extravagance of the empire's king's lifestyle, may have contributed to his notoriety. It is important to remember that he was not a historical king despite possessing such an enormous collection of burial furnishings. What if he was weighed against other notable kings? In this instance, it could be possible to speculate on the type of burial furnishings that great kings like Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, Seti I, and Ramesses II may have had. Most likely, he was buried in a modest tomb that wasn't ready for him. The priest I, who held the priestly title of God's father and who succeeded him to the throne of Egypt, was depicted on the walls of his royal tomb wearing the garments of priests carrying out the ritual of opening the mouth of the deceased king's mummy, oversaw the funeral preparations and rites. We now need to discuss a letter that King Ankhesenamun's widow most likely wrote to Suppiluliuma, the Hittite king at the time, saying, "My husband died and I did not have children, and I know that you have many children. He will be my husband if you send me one of them. I refuse to accept marriage to one of my subordinates." The request caught the monarch off guard, so he sent a message to make sure there was no ulterior motive. The messenger came back with a message from the queen telling him that she was forced to ask a Hittite prince to be her husband, even though it was not an easy task for her to do so. This communication revealed that, although he had intended to send her one of his sons, he was murdered en route after coming under attack from the men and horses of Egypt. Consequently, the plot that was supposed to lead to this marriage fell through, and we are unaware of the queen's whereabouts. Was she given a penalty? Alternatively, she married the priest I, who went on to become king of Egypt, reigning for 4 years before being buried in his tomb in the western Valley of the Kings. It is important to notice, nonetheless, that her name is absent from the texts and inscriptions on this tomb.